Billionaire's heartwarming encounter, mute daughter's life-changing moment with amazing sign language. In a world often too busy to see the quiet sparks of brilliance, a 10-year-old girl named Rachel was about to change everything. Mute since birth, she spoke not with words but with colors and shapes, pouring her dreams onto paper, unseen yet bursting with life. Her father, Tom, a hard-working lawn care technician, spent long hours tending to the lawns of the affluent in their cozy suburban neighborhood, nurturing his daughter with a love that often filled their modest home with warmth, even as financial hardship loomed over them like a dark cloud. One bright Saturday morning, Tom's phone rang unexpectedly. It was Hank, a reclusive billionaire known more for his extravagant lifestyle than for any compassion. He invited Tom to detail his sprawling estate for a charity event. As they drove past immaculate lawns with blooms that danced under the sun, Tom felt a mix of pride and anxiety. Rachel peered from the car window, her eyes wide with wonder, as she took in the world around her, a place far removed from their own simple life. At the estate, opulence embraced them like a shimmering blanket. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like stars, casting a golden glow on the marble floors. As Tom worked, Rachel slipped away, her heart racing with inspiration. Finding a quiet corner in the courtyard, she grabbed a piece of chalk and began to draw. With each stroke, she transformed the dull concrete into a vibrant mural that depicted the tangled beauty of her heart, a world filled with hope, laughter, and the boundless dreams of a girl who refused to be silenced. Her unspoken story began to capture onlookers. People stopped, eyes wide, as her artwork danced with emotion. Tom, glancing up from his work, watched with awe as a crowd slowly encircled his daughter. Among them was Hank. Drawn in, he felt something he hadn't in years: a connection. Rachel's colors sang a song of resilience, and as he watched, his heart swelled with admiration. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the charity event unfolded, Hank approached Tom with an offer for Rachel to showcase her art at an exhibition. Joy mingled with fear in Tom's heart. His desire for Rachel to chase her dreams battled against the dread of stepping into a world that could be unforgiving. Misunderstandings grew, moments of tension pressed their bond, threatening to unravel the love that had carried them through so much. Yet, in a serene moment amidst the chaos, Hank sat beside Rachel. He shared his own childhood tales of isolation, yearning, and unspoken dreams. There, in that luxurious courtyard, a flicker of understanding ignited between them. Rachel and Hank, two souls from different worlds, embraced a shared loneliness. As excitement buzzed and doubts churned, Tom wrestled internally. Would he let his daughter leap into the realm of her aspirations, risking everything they've built? With the exhibition looming just ahead, whispers of support filled the air. A question lingered, drumming in Tom's chest: could they all find their voice at last? That night, Tom couldn't sleep. The offer Hank had made echoed in his mind like a wild symphony. He tossed and turned, the sheets tangled around him. Rachel's laughter and the vibrant images she'd created danced before his eyes. Each bright color symbolized hope. Yet, a heavy weight pressed down on his heart. What if this chance shattered their little world instead of lifting them up? Morning light broke through the curtain, illuminating their small kitchen with a soft glow. Rachel was already awake, seated with her art supplies, lost in her own universe, oblivious to the turmoil in her father's mind. He sipped his coffee, watching her. She dipped her brush into vibrant paint, sunshine yellow and sky blue blending like the dreams she strove to showcase. In that moment, he was struck by her focus, her passion. "Dad, look!" She signed eagerly, beaming as she held up a canvas featuring a dazzling sunrise. He smiled, but a pang of worry knotted within him. Could she handle the spotlight? Would the art world embrace her, or cast her aside? As Tom prepared for another day at work, he decided to confront his fears head-on. "Rach," he began, kneeling beside her. "What if we take that offer? The exhibition?" Her eyes sparkled, then softened. She nodded vigorously, her hands forming the sign for yes animatedly. But as her excitement took flight, Tom felt the ground beneath him grow uncertain. Would this risk throw them into a reality they weren't ready for? The day of the exhibition arrived, and Tom stood at the gallery entrance, heart racing. They'd decorated Rachel's corner with her artwork, showcasing her journey through colors. Each piece whispered stories of dreams and challenges. The gallery was filled with vibrant chatter, guests donning silk dresses and polished shoes, unaware of the beauty that was about to unfold. Rachel held Tom's hand tightly, her small palm trembling with anticipation. He knelt beside her, whispering encouragement, his voice breaking slightly. "You're going to shine so bright, honey." As guests began to filter towards her display, Rachel took a deep breath. The mural she'd painted in the courtyard, now large and impressive, drew a small crowd. Murmurs of admiration filled the room. Her art felt alive, pulling in hearts like a magnet. Tom watched, pride swelling within him, a mix of joy and fear still clinging to his thoughts. Then something unexpected happened. Hank appeared from the crowd, a genuine smile on his face. "Rachel, your work is beautiful," he signed fluently, surprising both Tom and Rachel. He knelt next to them, captivated. "You brought this gallery to life." Tom's chest swelled with pride, yet a shadow of doubt crept in. Would the connection forged in that moment last beyond the vibrant evening? He could sense a shift in the atmosphere. Rachel seemed to understand, her smile growing wider, even as voices echoed questions around them. As the night unfolded, Rachel continued to enchant her audience. Stories poured forth her battles, her dreams, all conveyed through her expressive art. But in the depths of Tom's heart, unease surged as Hank lingered, drawn closer to Rachel. Would the bond they were forging alter everything? When it was finally time for Rachel to speak, she turned to Tom, her eyes shimmering with deep understanding. She took a moment, breathing in the light, then signed a simple yet profound phrase, "Together, always." In that moment, everything felt like it was aligned. Warmth surged through Tom, yet somewhere, a voice cautioned him. What lay ahead could change them forever. As Hank approached Rachel, the air thickened with possibilities. But just as Tom started to hope, he overheard murmurs behind him, a debate about Rachel's talent, a division of opinions that could boil over into judgment. Could they navigate this unpredictable world together? Would their love withstand the trials ahead? Standing at the crossing of trust and uncertainty, Tom squared his shoulders. Here, in this moment, a new journey awaited, brimming with both hope and hidden challenges. What lay ahead for Rachel? Was a question that hung in the air like a breath waiting to be released. Tom's heart raced as he felt the weight of uncertainty settle over him. He glanced at Rachel, still standing radiant among her newfound admirers. Her joy was infectious, yet his protective instincts kicked in. He had navigated a confusing world of hopes and dreams before, but this felt different. It felt big. With Hank still nearby, Tom tried to shake off his apprehension. Did he have the right to be jealous of a connection that could shine so brightly for Rachel? He was torn between wanting to shelter her and understanding that she needed room to grow. As Rachel shared her story, he noticed Hank's rapt attention. This wasn't just a mentor, this was someone who recognized Rachel's light. Guests continued to approach the display, captivated by Rachel's art. They were touched by her resilient spirit, inspired by her voice, one that carried through colors rather than words. Tom felt an ache in his chest, a strange mixture of pride and fear. Tom turned away for a moment, taking a deep breath and grounding himself. He needed to be strong for Rachel, for everything they had been through together. But what if in trying to protect her, he limited her? What if the world of art embraced Rachel in ways he couldn't fathom? Minutes turned into hours, as laughter and conversations pulsed through the gallery. The night felt electric, a whirlwind of creativity. Yet amidst the excitement, Tom couldn't help but overhear snippets of conversation that stung. Does she really deserve this attention? Can someone who can't speak really convey emotion through art? His fists clenched, nails digging into his palms. Tom willed himself to walk away from the negativity, focus on the moment. Rachel turned to him, her eyes bright. "Dad, look at them." She signed, her enthusiasm pouring out like watercolor on canvas. "They love it." And she was right. The crowd was an eclectic mix, marveling at her work. But beneath their applause, he could sense the brewing tension, the whispers chasing around the room. As the night wore on, Hank stepped up beside Rachel. "I see so much potential in you," he said, his voice laced with admiration. "We should collaborate on something great. Take this further." Tom's heart sank. The idea of Rachel working so closely with Hank tightened his throat. He had trusted Hank, but a whirlwind of thoughts spun in Tom's mind. Was this the beginning of something beautiful or something that could break them apart? "Okay," Rachel replied, her face lighting up as she envisioned the opportunities. Tom had to interject, his protective instincts kicking in. "Rachel, wait," he said, his voice a little too sharp. "You need to think this through. We need to talk." She paused, the brightness in her eyes dimming just a bit. "What's wrong, Dad?" She signed, concern knitting her brows. Tom struggled to find the words, trapped between wanting to support his daughter and resisting the idea of opening this door to the unknown. "Just promise me we'll keep talking," he finally managed, the weight of his anxiety heavy in the air. "Of course," she signed back. But Tom sensed the hesitation. Was she feeling the doubt he carried? Another wave of chatter arose from the crowd, laughter erupting like a celebration. They were all there to appreciate Rachel's moment. But something in the air shifted, a hushed laughter behind them that spoke volumes. "Just wait until I tell you who I really am," one voice said, followed by a ripple of amusement amongst a group. Tom's stomach churned. Who were they waiting for, and what would it mean for Rachel? He turned to her, desperate to shield his daughter from whatever storm might be brewing. But as he met her gaze, he saw a young artist ready to embrace her destiny. In that moment, everything felt like a delicate balance, a tightrope between dreams and reality. What would this night ultimately become, not just for Rachel, but for the both of them? The crowd held its breath, the allure of the unknown drawing them in. Tom took a step forward, ready to protect Rachel from the shadows lurking behind the laughter. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. What if their lives were about to change in ways they couldn't predict? Tom's heart pounded in his chest as he recognized the figure stepping through the crowd. It was Morgan, a name that carried both prestige and a hint of trouble. Tom had heard the whispers in the art community about him, an influential gallery owner with deep pockets and connections that could elevate an artist's career overnight. But with those connections came swirling rumors, and Tom had never trusted the man. Morgan approached, his smile sharp and disarming. "Rachel," he called, his voice smooth like silk. Rachel turned, her expression a mix of curiosity and surprise. "Your work has captivated me," Morgan continued, his eyes sparkling with interest. "You have a rare gift. I'd like to talk about showing your art in my upcoming exhibit." Tom felt a rush of protectiveness surge in his veins. "Rachel, wait," he started, but she was already drawing closer to Morgan, starry-eyed and hopeful. "Really?" she signed, her hands fluttering with barely contained excitement. Morgan nodded, his demeanor charming. "Absolutely. I can see you in a larger space, surrounded by people who appreciate your talent. You deserve that." Tom's stomach twisted into knots. "No. This wasn't the opportunity he wanted for Rachel. All he could think about was how quickly the excitement would turn to exploitation. But, Dad. Rachel hesitated, her gaze shifting between Tom and Morgan. The laughter of the guests faded into a distant hum as Tom stepped in front of her, blocking her view of Morgan, his resolve deepening. We need to talk about this, Rachel. I don't want you to rush into anything without understanding the choices you're making. Rachel's eyes dimmed, disappointment shadowing her features. You don't think I can do it? She signed, the familiar sting of doubt creeping into her expression. No, that's not it. Tom sighed, words escaping him. I want to protect you from people who may not have your best interests at heart. Morgan's smile faded slightly, but he quickly masked it with false enthusiasm. Rachel, this is a fantastic opportunity. You have a chance to share your voice with the world. But at what cost? Tom challenged, his voice firm. Becoming a part of that world isn't easy. It can change you in ways you might not want. A tense moment passed as Rachel regarded both men, her excitement hanging between them like a fragile thread. I've been rehearsing this my whole life. Her hands moved with urgency, pleading for understanding. I worked so hard for this moment. It's not just a chance, it's everything I ever wanted. Tom's heart sank. He was caught in a storm of emotions, love battling with fear. Rachel deserved to fly, but he wasn't sure she could navigate the winds and storms that would come with this kind of attention. Before he could respond, a new voice intruded. Morgan. There you are. A woman with striking red hair and a confident stride forced her way through the throng, an aura of authority surrounding her. I told you to meet us by the entrance. Morgan's gaze flickered to Tom, then back to the woman. Just making a quick pitch here. Pitch later. We have important people to meet. She glanced at Rachel, a knowing smile curling on her lips. And who's this lovely young artist? Tom felt the air shift, a sense of urgency pulling at him. Who was this woman? What role did she play in Morgan's world? Rachel caught the woman's eye, curiosity igniting her spirit again. But Tom's apprehension only grew sharper. Rachel, please, he urged softly, stepping closer, wanting nothing more than to wrap her in his protective embrace. But Rachel was already captivated, her dreams inching ever closer. Tom could sense the timing slipping away. What if all his warnings pushed her toward a path that could harden her heart instead? Would trust slip through his fingers like sand? As the crowd buzzed with renewed life, he had to gather his thoughts fast. Rachel, he signed, capturing her attention. Whatever decision you make, I will always support you. But I need you to promise me something. What? She asked, her expression softening, yearning for clarity. Always trust your gut. No one knows your heart like you do. Rachel looked from him to Morgan and the woman, the tension sizzling in the air. I promise, Dad. But just then, Morgan leaned in closer, his voice low and enticing. Rachel, let's get down to the details of your future. And in that moment, Tom knew this was the crossroads. How much further would he let Rachel venture into the unknown without him? What was hidden in that promise of a bigger stage, and could it end up costing them everything? Tom felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him, each second dripping away like the melting ice in his glass. Morgan's voice danced around them, seductive and honeyed, but all Tom could see was a trap slowly closing in on Rachel. The crowd pulsed with laughter and chatter, but in the center of it all, a suffocating silence enveloped their little trio. Let's talk figures. A young talent like you should be in the spotlight, not hidden away in a studio, Morgan continued, gesturing grandly, as if already planning Rachel's future without her consent. His confidence was almost tangible, a force that pushed against Tom's desperate need to protect. Rachel's eyes sparkled with the potential that Morgan painted, but Tom saw the darker strokes hidden beneath. Rachel, don't forget your voice. He insisted, shifting closer to her. You're not just an asset. You're an artist. Your work is about more than profit, it's about your soul. The young artist's gaze flickered nervously between the two men. She looked torn, wrestling with her dreams and the protective instincts of her father. Tom could see her spirit blazing with ambition, yet an undercurrent of fear lingered in her movements. She wanted this, but at what cost? Why don't you take things slow? Tom suggested, his own heart aching. There's no rush to make a decision. Explore options. We can find a different gallery, one that aligns with who you are, not just your talent. I appreciate your concern, Tom, Morgan interjected smoothly, his smile returning, though it never reached his eyes. But we both know the art world is about connections and timing. Rachel can't afford to pass up an opportunity like this. Not when I'm here to make it happen. Is it really about my art, or just business for you? Rachel signed, her hands trembling slightly as she articulated her thoughts. She looked at Morgan, then back at Tom, searching for the truth in both men. Morgan's charming facade faltered for the briefest moment. Of course it's about your art. But let us not overlook the potential to get you where you want to be, faster. There it was again, that hint of urgency in his words. It made Tom's insides twist. Wealth was a double-edged sword. He couldn't forget the stories of artists who had been chewed up by the machine of fame and spit out as hollow shells. Rachel, he said, softening his tone, you are the one who controls your journey. You're incredible, but you need to be mindful. The right opportunity respects you. You deserve to be cherished, not just exploited. Silence fell briefly as the words hung in the air. Rachel's expression morphed as a cascade of emotions washed over her. There was fear, a hint of rebellion, and above all, an intense yearning to be seen, to be taken seriously in a world that had always felt just out of reach. The red-haired woman stepped closer, her gaze intense and piercing. Rachel, she said, voice low yet commanding, listen to Tom, but also trust your instincts. This is your moment, and moments like these can shift everything you've ever dreamed about. Rachel blinked, torn between her father's protective love and the exhilarating allure of a new world opening up before her. We can leave and talk more about this later, Tom suggested, the fight draining from his voice. Let us decide without the pressure. We can explore together. Rachel's hands hesitated midair, caught in a whirlwind of choices. Her fingers began to form the words slowly. But what if exactly? Morgan interjected, his tone sharp. What if you never get this chance again, Rachel? Sometimes we must leap. Tom felt a surge of despair. A leap without looking can lead to a fall, he reminded her, his heart racing. Each second felt like a countdown, pressure building with every moment she remained on the fence. Then the noise of the crowd seemed to melt away, leaving only the three of them suspended in silence. The air felt charged, a palpable tension that hinted at the crossroads of Rachel's life. Rachel took a deep breath, her expression determined yet uncertain. I'm not sure what I want as she whispered those words. Tom's resolve wavered. Revelations were swirling in the depths of her thoughts. It was her life, her choice, but would she choose wisely? The weight of the decision settled around her like a shroud. Would she follow her dreams or be swept away, lost to the tide of others' expectations? Tom's heart raced as he prepared himself for whatever was about to unfold. Would she choose to trust him, or would the bright lights of the gallery world pull her away? In that moment, they stood on the brink of change, the future unfolding like a canvas before them. What would Rachel choose when her heart weighed against the glitters of fame? And then, as if fate demanded an answer, the moment shifted once more. A loud crash echoed through the gallery, causing heads to turn, shattering the focus of their fragile deliberations. Tom's breath caught in his throat. What had just happened, and how would it change everything? The crash shattered the carefully constructed tension of the moment, shards of glass scattering like Rachel's thoughts. A marble statue had toppled from its pedestal, its expensive craftsmanship now a pile of ruin. Gasps filled the air, and all eyes turned to the chaos, momentarily retreating from their personal dramas. For Tom, the commotion felt surreal. One moment they were navigating the delicate web of Rachel's future, and the next, a symbol of her struggle duty versus ambition lay in pieces. He turned his attention back to Rachel, hoping she hadn't been affected by the chaos. But her eyes were wide, reflecting both alarm and a spark of clarity illuminated by the mishap. A crowd gathered around the fallen statue, voices rising in excitement and indignation. The gallery owner, a sleek man with a slick-back hairstyle, rushed over, frantically trying to restore order to the scene. Tom instinctively stepped closer to Rachel. He felt the heat radiating from her anticipation igniting his protective instincts even further. "Are you okay?" He signed gently, his eyes searching hers for any signs of fear. In that brief moment, he felt an overwhelming surge of longing for her to find her strength. Rachel nodded, but her gaze fixed on the chaos, her mind clearly racing. Tom could feel the weight of her hesitation, heavy and suffocating. It took a deep breath for her to even remember she had a voice within her. Tom was struck anew by how uncertain her path could be. Morgan seized the opportunity among the commotion, positioning himself nearer to Rachel, his charisma as enticing as ever. "See? This is why you need a strong advocate like me. Look at the disorder here. People need direction." His voice was loud, each word intentionally underscored with fervor, a crude attempt to reclaim the meeting after the distraction. But Rachel stood still, the motion of her hands betraying her conflicted spirit. In the heat of the moment, she began to sign again, her movements fluid yet measured. "Tom, what do you think? Do opportunities come from chaos?" Tom felt a pulse of admiration but also trepidation. "Sometimes they do." There was a flicker of defiance in Rachel's eyes, the spirit of creativity fighting through the clamor. "But remember, they can also lead you down a path of regret if you don't protect your essence." He pointed towards the chaos, gesturing that even masterpieces can fall. "You are not just another story to be told. You're more than that. You need to create your narrative." Suddenly, the crowd burst into laughter as someone jokingly compared the fallen statue to an abstract piece of art. It cut through the tension, and for the first time that evening, Rachel giggled softly, a sound so pure it felt like a flicker of hope piercing through the shadows. Her spirit momentarily brightened, but Tom could still see the weight of her decision looming large behind her smile. But then, with a determined look, she turned her focus to Morgan, unyielding but resolute. "I won't rush into something for the sake of appearances." The words were strong, unbroken, resonating with an authenticity that silenced the room. "This is my life, not a spectacle." Morgan's expression faltered, his carefully constructed charm cracking in the wake of her declaration. "Rachel," Tom urged, feeling the tides shifting, "this is your moment. Both choices, the easy path he offers or the uncertain one, will shape who you become." The energy in the gallery shifted, eyes moved back and forth between Rachel and the wreckage of the statue, each representing the tangibility of her upcoming choice. "What if I choose neither?" Rachel asked softly, her voice now steady. "What if I carve out my own path?" Tom's heart soared. There it was, her voice, her power, her resolve. But just as reassurance filled the room, another shattering sound pierced through. This time it was the fragile glass of yet another piece of art. A gasp echoed through the crowd, but this time, Tom felt a sense of unity arising. They were no longer held hostage by the allure of Morgan's promises, the weight of consequences was clouded by the intoxicating air of independence. Rachel's gaze lingered on the fallen art, and with a newfound fierceness, she whispered, "It's time to create something beautiful, even if I have to break a few things along the way." Tom's heart raced. Would Rachel take that powerful leap, guided by her own instincts? But as he looked around, an unexpected figure appeared through the crowd, the red-haired woman from before, now looking intently at Rachel, a knowing smile playing on her lips. It felt like the universe had intertwined their stories, weaving yet another thread of fate together. What would happen next? Would Rachel seize her moment and stand firm? Or would the crash of that one piece of art lead to a landslide of decisions she wasn't prepared for? The weight of the evening pressed down heavily once more, the room suspended in a tension that felt almost electric. Tom held his breath, waiting for Rachel to take that monumental first step. Rachel stood at the heart of the chaos, her pulse matching the frenetic energy alive in the gallery. The remnants of the shattered glass glimmered on the floor, reflecting her inner turmoil. Who could have anticipated that a single moment a statue collapsing could illuminate so much about her life? As the crowd murmured, some still buzzing from laughter while others shifted back to hushed concern, Rachel could feel an unshakable resolve beginning to form. Tom's presence anchored her, the steady gaze he held on her speaking volumes. "Let us get out of here," Tom signed, tilting his head slightly toward a quieter corner of the gallery where a few pieces hung undisturbed. There was comfort in stillness, in finding clarity away from the chaos. Rachel felt a flutter of anxiety wash over her. Could she really step away now? What would Morgan say? She cast one last glance at him, his face taut with disappointment. He had scrabbled so hard to paint her future with the broad strokes of his vision, always threatening to drown out her desires with his loud approach. But tonight, among the wreckage, she saw the splintered fragments of her own choice. Yes, she finally signed, determination lacing her fingers with each movement. They stepped aside, away from judgmental eyes that had been glued to her transformation. Rachel Tom's fingers found hers as they stumbled upon a piece of cloth hanging from an empty easel. It was vibrant, a rich orange that wrapped around them like a warm embrace. "You're finding your voice. Don't lose that." His words ignited something profound within her. Her own voice, the one she so desperately sought to reclaim, was not merely about sound. It was about expression, about daring to carve her own path despite the looming shadows of uncertainty. The weight of her choices felt lighter in that moment, as if they transformed into flickers of possibility. Yet, Morgan followed closely, finally breaking through the silence that enveloped them like fog. "You're making a mistake, Rachel," he called, his tone teetering between disbelief and irritation. "Don't throw away a chance like this for the sake of a momentary fancy." Rachel paused, her heart aching not for the loss of his vision but for the realization that she was no longer tethered to his expectations. "This is my life, Morgan. Not a transaction." Her hands moved expressively, carving the air with conviction. "My choices can't be dictated by someone else's narrative." The room felt as if it held its breath, an odd air of shared anticipation tying everyone together. Even in the face of agitation, Tom smiled understanding, witnessing her awakening. And then, the red-haired woman, who lingered at the edges of the gallery, stepped forward. "You have a gift, Rachel," she said, her voice calm, yet luminous against the turbulence. "You are an artist in your own right." Her smile widened, revealing authenticity. "All that you've just witnessed, the chaos, the laughter, the shattered beauty, are parts of your truth and what you can combine to create something extraordinary." Rachel's breath caught in her throat. The woman seemed to embody everything Rachel wished to be, unapologetically herself, navigating through life's intricacies. A warmth spread through her, as if igniting her very soul. "Do you want to learn?" the woman continued, gesturing towards the fallen pieces. "Every fragment can become a part of something greater. Yours can too." Tom's gaze shifted from Rachel to the woman, sensing the weight of opportunity. "What do you say?" he signed, speaking his own curiosity into the air. Rachel inhaled the possibility, her heart pounding with an exhilaration she hadn't known in ages. It was a call to action, a chance to step beyond the gallery walls and into an authentic expression of herself. And just as the anticipation reached a boiling point, another crash echoed in the distance. This one felt deeper, a thundering reminder of the transformative potential that lay ahead. The gallery, while shaken, had become a catalyst for change. Rachel turned back toward the red-haired woman, her voice steady. "What do I need to do?" The possibility of stepping into the unknown shimmered with unrestrained allure. But as the crowd continued to buzz behind them, it was clear that not only Rachel's journey was at stake, Tom felt it too. And above all, could Morgan truly let her go? Choices loomed ahead, and as she ventured toward the unknown, Rachel realized she was ready to embrace her own narrative, whatever it might take. What awaited her at the end of this newly forged path? Would the next crash she faced be a chance for rebirth, or a retreat into silence? Rachel's heart raced as she stood there, enveloped by the weight of possibility. The red-haired woman's eyes sparkled with an invitation she couldn't ignore. "Every piece tells a story," the woman said, gesturing to the scattered fragments of the statue. "You can make them sing." The thought thrilled Rachel, but there was also fear creeping in. Would she really have the courage to embrace her creativity? Would she be able to mold her chaos into something beautiful? Tom squeezed her hand tightly. His silent support wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, urging her onward. "What will I do?" Rachel asked, her fingers trembling with anticipation. "Start with these pieces," the woman said, as she knelt, picking up shards of broken glass, adorned with hints of color blue, green, and flecks of gold. "Each represents a part of you. Together, they can form something spectacular." Chills coursed through Rachel. Memories flooded back, her childhood spent playing with broken ceramics at her grandmother's home, discovering joy in creating something new from the old. The thought of reclaiming that joy soon made her chest swell. Tom stepped beside her, signaling his eagerness to join. His fingers danced in the air, expressing a blend of excitement and admiration. "Let us do this together," he signed, his expression earnest, unwavering. The red-haired woman smiled, her presence a beacon as she helped them both gather the shards. With each piece they collected, Rachel felt a fire igniting within her. She had spent so long allowing others to shape her narrative, a story framed by fear and doubt. But now, pieces of her lost self were falling into place. "Look around you," the woman encouraged them as they worked. "Each emotion in this room, every reaction, fear, joy, disappointment, excitement, that's art. Capture it and transform it." Rachel glanced at the still attering crowd outside the corner they'd chosen for their impromptu project. Eyes filled with curiosity and anticipation were watching the trio. It felt surreal. She was no longer just an observer of her life but was taking charge. It was hard to focus with Morgan's presence looming nearby, tension radiating from him like heat from a fire. She focused on her task, shaping the glass with Tom's help, their movements synchronizing as they assembled their artistic vision. With each connection made, Rachel felt invisible chains loosening around her heart. "This could be something," she murmured, glancing up at the woman, who nodded in agreement. "Art is about intention," the woman replied. "What will you intend to create, Rachel?" The question hung in the air, challenging her to dig deep. What did she want to say? What did she want to become? Before she could answer, Morgan marched toward them, his expression fierce. "You're wasting your talent, Rachel. This isn't what you were meant to do." The confrontation felt looming, but this time Rachel stood taller. She stole a glance at Tom, then looked directly at Morgan. "This is my chance to be me," she said, each word more solid than the last. "I'm tired of being a reflection of your dreams. I want to make my own." The quiet fury in her voice rippled through the gallery, murmurs of support swelling from the lingering crowd. Morgan's face twisted in disbelief, but Rachel felt a spark of defiance igniting within her. "You could be part of this, Morgan," Tom interjected, signing quickly, urging for understanding. "Join her in building something new." For a second, there was silence, an unexpected stillness settling as all eyes were on them. Morgan's brow furrowed, caught between pride and confusion. "Is that what you really want, Rachel? To throw everything away?" he insisted, desperation creeping into his tone. Rachel inhaled sharply, her heart racing with decision. But unlike before, she was not looking to him for affirmation. She was looking to the woman beside her, the shards in her hands, and the path ahead. Yes, she asserted, her voice firm, strong. This is what I want. The crash from before echoed in her mind a wake-up call. Life was messy, unsure, and filled with fragments, but in that chaos lay freedom. As Rachel turned back to the colorful shards, visions of creation filled her mind. But before she could refocus, another crash sounded. This time, it felt closer, rattling the very foundation of the gallery. And as everyone turned toward the source of the sound, Rachel realized that the path to her truth might be more unpredictable than she had ever anticipated. What lay hidden in the confusion of that new crash? Would it propel her forward or drag her back into doubt? Rachel's breath hitched as the noise echoed again, sharper and more disruptive. A splintering crash seemed to come from the back room, rattling the walls of the gallery and the hearts of everyone present. The atmosphere thickened with uncertainty. Tom's brows furrowed in concern, and the vibrant energy of creation momentarily faded. What was that? He signed, urgency woven into his expression. Before Rachel could find the words, the red-haired woman rushed to the edge of the crowd, her beautiful presence a stark contrast to the chaos. "Stay here," she called out. The authority in her voice quelled the nervous murmurs that rippled through the onlookers. Rachel felt a pang of apprehension. She dared to steal a glance behind her. Would the chaos pull her away from this moment she so desperately wanted? Transforming fragments into beauty had sparked something alive inside her. She wasn't ready to let go. Just then, a figure pushed through the crowd, wiping sweat from his brow as he stepped into view. It was Keith, the gallery manager, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Everyone, please, it's just a broken display. No need to panic." His voice was reassuring, but Rachel could see the edge of fear in his eyes. Morgan, still hovering nearby like a storm cloud, narrowed his gaze. "This isn't the time for your little art games, Rachel," he shouted, a mixture of anger and concern lacing his tone. "You need to go back to what you know. You won't survive here." Rachel's heart pounded. For so long, she had allowed Morgan's shadow to loom over her, dictating her worth and options. But now? She wanted to sift through not just broken glass but also the broken pieces of her dreams that he'd scattered. "You don't understand," she replied, her voice louder this time, "I'm not going back. This is about moving forward." Tom stepped a little closer to her, his fingers flying through the air in a passionate response. "We build from this, Rachel. We can make something beautiful from the chaos." Rachel's spirit surged with his words. The crash had rattled their moment, but it was also a reminder of the vulnerability of creativity. Beauty didn't come from perfection, it came from daring to embrace imperfection. As the crowd shifted nervously, some remaining focused on the latest scene of mayhem, Rachel locked eyes with the red-haired woman, whose expression remained unwavering, giving Rachel the fortitude she needed. "Let us not allow this to break our flow," she said, stepping forward. "We can turn this around just like transforming the glass. There's power in the fragments." A moment settled across the gallery, like when the wind pauses before a storm. Then, a burble of murmurs shifted into quiet agreement. People began to gather again, some even kneeling to pick up pieces and help form a mosaic from the chaos. Rachel felt a smile break across her face like dawn after a storm. This is what she wanted. "Come on, Tom," she urged him, "let's show them." Their shared energy radiated as they began arranging the shards with intention, not just to create a sculpture, but to tell a story of resilience. As the atmosphere grew electric with creativity, Morgan stepped back, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Perhaps he realized that Rachel was breaking through the confinement of his expectations. Just when everything seemed to click back into place, another loud bang reverberated through the gallery, louder this time. An unnerving feeling spread through Rachel. Was this another obstacle, or could it be an opportunity? "Should we check?" She signed to Tom, her heart racing. "Let us." He responded, eyes sparkling with adventure. Together, they took a step forward, their artistic transformation cast aside as the promise of yet another surprise awaited them. What secrets lay hidden behind that sound? What new paths might unravel from there? The crowd held its breath, an electric tension hanging in the air as Rachel and Tom stepped cautiously towards the source of the latest crash. Instinctively, Rachel reached for Tom's hand, her heart pounding in rhythm with the excited murmurs surrounding them. This was it. This was their moment to seize control of their narrative. As they approached, they found a section of the gallery draped in shadows, where a display had toppled over a massive, colorful light installation bursting with vivid hues. The shards now lay scattered, flickering in faint glimmers, much like Rachel's own dreams had been once vibrant but now in danger of being lost. What happened? Tom pushed through the crowd, each step filled with a sense of newfound purpose. Keith, still out of breath, looked around frantically, his brow damp with sweat. It was too heavy for the stand, he stammered, directing his gaze toward Rachel. "But we can fix this." His hope felt genuine, and for the first time that evening, Rachel felt a swell of belief rise within her. "Can we?" She signed, excitement mingling with uncertainty. "Can we build it again even better?" A wave of enthusiasm washed over the bystanders. The air thickened with possibilities. Voices began to clamor as others rushed in to help, moving together, each person drawn into the unpredictability of creativity anew. "Let us make this a collaboration." Someone from the crowd shouted. "Let us make it a community initiative," another added. The energy shifted again, truly transforming the chaos into a spectacle of unity. Tom squeezed Rachel's hand tighter, his eyes shimmering. "This is what we needed, the chance to create something out of the broken pieces," he signed, pride spilling over in every flourish of his movements. Rachel beamed back, inspiration coursing through her. "All right, everyone." Rachel called, her voice strong as she urged her audience forward. "We can make this work. Each piece represents our journey. Let us create a new masterpiece, not just for me, but for all of us." Tom felt his own heart swell at her transformation, a blossom emerging from chaos. Together they ventured into the depths of the fallen installation, each shard representing colors of their emotional landscape. Hands dove in, picking up fragments, and together, they began to weave a new narrative. They would rebuild, layer by layer, blending their stories into a brilliant tapestry, half-formed and raw yet so achingly alive. With newfound energy, Tom guided Rachel's hands as they picked up broken lights, placing them with intention. "This is the beginning," he signed, eyes glistening. "It's not just about you, it's about us, the community, everyone who sees you for who you truly are. This is what we're capable of," Rachel signed back, her hands fluttering energetically. "Art is how we express our hearts. It draws from every experience and every person in our lives." Each piece of glass, every single beam of light, became a testament to the beauty that arises from vulnerability and failure. Alongside the gallery's guests, they bonded over the joy of creation, laughter echoing as they exchanged ideas, imbuing every shard with personal meaning. The moment transformed the chaos into something breathtaking. As they tied the fallen piece together with the remnants of the vibrant mural Rachel had once painted, the once disparate elements began to spark. The colors resonated, a message of hope, resilience, and unity. Tom thought back to everything they had been through, every trial, every fear, and in this moment, standing side by side with Rachel as a community, he knew their bond had never been stronger. But as the excitement surged, they turned to see Morgan standing at the periphery, his expression shifting from incredulity to awe. As he watched this community come together, his earlier confidence wavered. "This," he stuttered, devoid of his usual bravado, "this shouldn't be possible." Rachel stepped forward, her presence commanding. "It is possible because it's real. This is what art should do: connect people, build bridges, not divisions. It's never just about you or me, Morgan, it's about all of us." As the assembly of loyal supporters roared with applause, Morgan, for the first time, looked small flawed in the face of this undeniable truth. Tom knew right then that Rachel's voice would carry her forward, guiding her steps into every uncertain future. This wasn't just about one moment or one choice. Rachel was shaping her narrative with each connection she made, creating a life rich with meaning beyond any single exhibition or gallery. As the night wore on, the once nervous gallery burst into an entryway of creativity, their colors and fates weaving into an inspiring tapestry, each person adding their own unique mark to the growing installation. And in that moment, as the patterns illuminated their collective endeavors, they all understood the crashes, the pieces, and the chaos shaped the beauty of their journeys. Rachel beamed, surrounded by support, finally feeling wholly accepted and understood. And at that moment, she learned that true art was not merely representation, true art was vulnerability. As they stepped back to admire their masterpiece, laughter echoed. The darkness that had loomed couldn't diminish the brilliance of their communal light. With her father's hand intertwined with hers, Rachel understood deep in her heart, they were never alone. They were always together. And maybe, just maybe, they'd turn the world into a canvas of their own creation. Now, as you stand witness to this transformative journey, make sure to support us. You need to subscribe now, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. It matters more than you know. This is the moment to show your support for truly inspiring stories.